Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today I'm looking at the collection for the 2016 event story, Superman, Savage Dawn. Oh, Savage Dawn. That's probably pronounced Savage Dawn. Yeah. Savage Dawn gets its name from Vandal Savage, major Justice League villain and immortal conqueror. But more than that, just like with Doomed, which I covered last week, it's the culmination of several months of build-up across all four running Superman titles at the time. This began with his self-titled series when he developed his new Solar Flare or Super Flare attack that caused him to lose his powers for 24 hours after using it. Even once his powers came back, he was a little slower and weaker than normal, allowing him to be caught on camera in mid-transformation by a hacker named Hodor. Sorry, Horder Rude. Horder turned out to be able to download his consciousness into different bodies, making it extra difficult to stop him. So to free Superman from the threat of having his identity revealed to the world, Lois Lane revealed Superman's secret identity to the world. Okay. But worse than that, Horder turned out to be a son of Vandal Savage, who wanted to prove himself to his supervillain dad, and so became the Hodor hacker to make himself useful. Meanwhile, in Action Comics, Supes faced down a villain named Wrath, who could create these shadow monster things and further could infect people with rage, turning them into murderous zombies. Wrath, similarly, turned out to be a daughter of Vandal. In Batman Superman, Big Blue runs across his old friends from Imperial Subterranea, who are searching for a new sun-like power source for their underground kingdom after Supes and Lana kinda stole their old ones in Action Comics. They attempt to grab a miniature sun that Wayne Tech apparently accidentally created, cause that's so easy to accidentally do. But it turns out most of the warriors under Imperial leader Oclair were all working for Savage and take the mini-sun and run. In Superman Wonder Woman, the super pair deal with these guys who have black holes for mouths. Yeah, I'm not making that up. Because they're able to suck energy out of other people, and their creator, Bend, another son of Savage, also created a machine that can do the same thing. He tries to use it to power himself up to take over Daddy's kingdom, but Papa Savage don't like that much and he just kills the wayward son. But just exactly why Savage is going to all these great lengths and what his master plan actually is, isn't revealed to us until this series. And so let's take a look in the book to find out just what that plan is, and just how effective it is, and take this away. The comic opens a long time ago on a planet far, far away. On Krypton, in fact, where this guy ML, no doubt intended to be some far distant ancestor of Superman, is getting all Jor-El about his end-of-the-world prophecies and has even built himself a missile to save everybody. Because his Armageddon is coming from a giant comet headed toward the planet, and ML uses the missile to divert the comet, saving them all. So the comet then heads to Earth, ending up there 50,000 years ago? Wait, holy crap, what? 50,000? Considering it probably had to take thousands or tens of thousands of years to travel across space to our planet, that means Krypton had rocket-level technology something like 60,000 years ago. How old is their civilization? Jeez. Anyway, on Earth those 50,000 years ago, Vandal Savage's caveman tribe is fighting another tribe, and when a meteor shows up, it distracts everyone enough that Vandal is able to sneak kill the opposing chief. But Vandal's dad doesn't think Vandal should claim the credit, and so instead he says he brought victory to their tribe, and that the sun came down from the heavens to bless their battle. They go to thank the sun directly for their victory, but most of the tribe is too in awe of it to even approach. All except for Vandal, who's like, look, I may be a simple caveman warrior, but even I can see that that's not the damn sun, because, you know, the sun is still in the sky. So he touches the space rock and it grants him power, which he uses to kill his dad and claim leadership of the tribe. But the tribe is like, yeah, we may be too dumb to know what the sun is, but you obviously just killed your father. We're not following you. So Vandal kills them too. He's a great guy. So we then discover he's immortal because he proceeds to live through history, covering tens of thousands of years before we check in on him again, first in Han Dynasty China, and then again later in the European Renaissance, where we see he's been hanging out with famous historical astronomers like Zheng Heng and Nicholas Copernicus, both of whom he also kills for failing to help him collect more of the meteorite. Well, alright. Zhang does set up a bunch of the story here for us by letting us, and Savage, know that more chunks of the comet will periodically come to Earth. They also set up that though Vandal sees himself as above men, he isn't above dabbling with the ladies. That's important because this entire story relies on him having a bunch of descendants because the man's more prolific than Genghis Khan. Oh wait, maybe he is Genghis Khan. Oh wait, no, that was John Wayne. We also see he somehow helped the Nazis during World War II, so much so that they built him a rocket to try and go get more of his meteorite, alright? Giving us this great cameo of old Captain Marvel villain, Captain Nazi, who quite fittingly is so incompetent that he stops Vandal from fulfilling his meteoric rise. That finally brings us to the present, where we see Superman struggling to deal with not having powers and feeling inadequate because of it, especially with his girlfriend Wonder Woman making references to that Batman-Superman annual, where Superman refused to bring her to the War World Fight Club because her name wasn't on the comic title. He might get some help with his little problem thanks to science, as John Henry Irons is working on a new supersuit just for Superman that could potentially replace his superpowers, if it doesn't kill him. Meanwhile, Vandal Savage somehow gets a drop on the Justice League and their floating space base, the Watchtower, by crashing the Stormwatch carrier into it. Stormwatch is the Justice League equivalent from the Wildstorm Comics universe that featured Apollo and Midnighter, and the team even briefly had their own New 52 comic, and I guess a giant mo-effing ship that they had just floating out in space. I'm not sure when Savage took control of it, though that seems like it would have been helpful information. If someone out there knows if/when that happened in a New 52 comic, please let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to mention it in a future video. With the help of a group calling themselves the Supremacists, which, yeah, are basically exactly what they sound like, Savage is able to subdue the Justice League and attach them to some of that power-draining equipment Bend created. Savage then begins dropping wrath bombs on Metropolis, as apparently he had a lot more than just the ones he was planning on dropping on Houston. But that's fine. As long as he's not messing with H-Town, he can do whatever. Wrath apparently doesn't feel the same way about it though, even though she knows, and admitted to Superman, that the bombs would have killed people in Houston. She was okay with it then because the primary purpose was that those who had Vandal Savage's blood in them would not die, but instead be transformed into super people. But here, even though that is what is happening, she's still pissed off at Vandal about this for some reason. I mean, what? Your evil supervillain father turned out to be an evil supervillain? I totally get why you're surprised by that turn of events, yeah. Superman decides to risk being killed and suits up in that special suit Steel made, and together with the Justice League United and Dr. Ray Palmer, they attack Vandal's super cool new hybrid ship and free Wonder Woman, at the cost of everyone else being captured. Superman and Wonder Woman get away, though, thanks primarily to Wrath angrily attacking her father over his supposed betrayal and causing an explosion that sends the super duo crashing back to Earth. Because Superman's a lot less super now, coupled with using the apparently kryptonite-powered suit, he nearly dies from the fall. So Wonder Woman takes him to Olympus to ask the remaining gods not killed by the Firstborn to save him. The gods proceed to judge him one by one, testing him each in their own unique ways, before finally judging him worthy of life, at the cost of making him fully and completely mortal. I mean, he's here in the first place because he was dying, so I'm pretty sure that means he was already mortal, so I'm not really sure what you're going for with this revelation, but okay. I guess they were trying to say that he doesn't even have what little remained of his superpowers now, but if so, they're pretty unclear about that. So I guess truly powerless now, he goes to meet up with Steve Trevor, and what with this being 2016, this meetup happens at a political debate with a politician spewing utter verbal nonsense about Superman to the apparent approval of the audience. And to top off this surprisingly well-crafted tongue-in-cheek moment, the part of the politician is here played by J. Wilbur Wolfingham, a really old Superman villain who was just a con man trying to steal money from good people. Superman explains to Trevor his theory that he can actually use kryptonite to power himself up now, because his skin is essentially covered in a cancerous layer preventing him from absorbing sunlight. And the kryptonite will work like chemotherapy to burn away that layer and make him Superman again. Trevor agrees with surprising ease, perhaps hoping he can kill off his competition for Wonder Woman's affections and get back with his old flame while simultaneously pretending to have been trying to help. So the two head to the Argus archive where the world's largest supply of kryptonite is being kept so Superman can expose himself to it. Wait, that sounded bad. So Superman can use it like a tanning bed. There, much better. Also, holy crap, that's a gigantic stash of kryptonite, which is weird because they blew up a massive amount of kryptonite during Doomed, and Ultraman went around freebasing all the kryptonite he could find during Forever Evil. So already a massive shit ton of kryptonite has been destroyed, but there's still all this left? Man, I'm beginning to think the entirety of the planet Krypton ended up on Earth. Their plans are almost spoiled by the Puzzler bot showing up and trying to kill them all. Puzzler was apparently originally a designer for the archive, former Argus agent Evans, and another son of Vandal. And Hoarder, Root, downloaded the man's brain into a robot body. I wish there was more explanation of where this guy came from, who he is, and how he got here, but again, if there is, I haven't seen it, so if someone knows, please leave a comment. But the kryptonite therapy actually works, and Supes quickly deals with the robot man before joining Wonder Woman in an attempt to attack Vandal's ship. They're blocked by another of Vandal's children, this giant barbarian guy calling himself Salvax, who's actually a young nerdy kid and comic lover who gained superpowers from the Wrath Bomb. Salvax delays them long enough for Vandal to fire a laser at the moon. Jupiter. I don't know if it's specifically stated in the comic, but he's essentially hoping to affect Jupiter's mass enough to change the comet's course to bring it closer to Earth. That complete, he combines his already massive base with Superman's Fortress of Solitude, where he gathers that super cool, colorful star power source that Hell tried to use for his evil plans, so that Vandal can fire yet another laser, this one actually hitting the comet in order to pull it directly to Earth. In trying to stop him, Superman pulls the entire base down to the ground in a conveniently gigantic, unpopulated area outside of town. You know, the kind of place Goku might have a fight in. But unfortunately, he pulls it down on top of his own head. Crushed under I don't know how many tons of overcompensating for something, Superman is left to be dug out by Wonder Woman. And oddly enough, Metallo. Ever since Brainiac Lois, Laniac, recreated Metallo with just her brain powers, he's been following her around like her personal bodyguard, even keeping watch on the roof of the Daily Planet with Krypto. Once Lois finds out Supes is buried under the crashed ship, she asks Metallo to help dig him out, and to make her happy, he does it. But as they dig, the comet keeps getting closer to Earth, so close in fact that it has begun awakening latent superpowers in more of Vandal's descendants. He calls to them, asking them to aid him in his efforts and promising them a piece of his new kingdom if they do. So Metallo and Diana have only just dug Superman free when they're attacked by the Super Kids. Luckily though, the remaining superheroes of Earth also show up to help out, and even Baka from the Subterranea arc in Action Comics and Haimasu from Mythbrawl and Superman show up to be like, hey, remember us? We were characters once. You sure were. Metallo attempts to leave the battle, only concerned with protecting Lois, but since Lois wants him to help the heroes, she just jumps into the fray. I really hate New 52 Lois. She makes the worst decision in like every situation. And what a shocker, this gets Metallo killed. As he dies, he asks to give his Kryptonian heart to Superman so that a piece of him can be the hero in death that he never got to be in life. The moment is played really sad, and they do that well enough, but he only just blew himself up and then got completely recreated back into existence by Lois, so this is his second death in almost as many years, so that does diminish the impact some. Superman puts the kryptonite heart on a chain that he conveniently just had ready, I guess, so that he can wear it like it's bling, and then just runs into the crashed ship to rescue all the heroes Vandal had been draining, getting a little help from his friends along the way, including the new Robo-Batman, Baka, and Oclair. Vandal has decided he doesn't need those heroes any longer, so he doesn't even attempt to block their efforts. Instead, he loads a select group of his children onto a rocket and fires away with them. So Superman again goes after him alone, but by now the kryptonite is once again starting to weaken him, and Vandal is able to simply shoot him in the gut and drop him from the rocket to his death. Only he very conveniently falls into the fortress, which now, for some reason, is able to recognize him again, and it very quickly provides some helpful cellular regeneration and returns his supersuit to him. Powered up again, he and several other heroes manage to stop the rocket, but this close to the comet, Vandal continues to power up further and has apparently gained the power of flight, so he just flies off alone to get to his comet, with Superman following after him, once again all alone, leaving everyone else to fight off Vandal's descendants on these floating pieces of rock that I'm really not sure where they came from. Also at one point, Superman seems to be fighting down on the rock and flying after Vandal at the same time. But apparently the one still fighting is actually supposed to be Shazam, who was shown as fighting these Wonder Twins here earlier. And I guess the colorist just didn't get the note. Whoopsies! As the comet gets closer and closer, the power it provides to Vandal's descendants becomes too much for their bodies to handle, and they literally all just explode from the pressure, which is kind of messed up. One of those was a kid, although in an epilogue story in Superman Wonder Woman, he apparently is just fine. So did they explode or didn't they? Maybe just not him, because, they didn't want to get in trouble for killing a kid. Superman and Vandal fight near the comet, but Vandal gets the upper hand, because for whatever reason, only he gains power from his proximity to the comet. And Vandal proceeds to do exactly what Brainiac attempted in Doomed, and tries to sway Superman to his side with visions of alternate realities. He starts with a Krypton where ML hadn't saved the planet from the comet. While millions would have died because of it, some would have survived, and one person even would have gained the powers that Savage did and been powerful enough to save Krypton from its destruction. When that's not enough to convince Supes, he shows him instead an alternate future, one where Savage is in charge of everything and Superman is his right-hand man. And together they lead a team of superheroes and villains who save the Earth from unknown alien conquerors. Superman kind of likes this future, but since it includes the subservience of regular human beings, he finds it absolutely unacceptable. And I mean, really? Vandal created this entire bogus future for him and he couldn't have just lied about that one part? Really? So still unconvinced, Superman continues to resist Vandal and attempts to stop the comet while Vandal continues to attempt to physically push the comet closer to Earth. The crushing forces cause the comet to instead simply explode altogether. Vandal maybe goes flying off into space and Superman crashes back down on Earth. And then the story just kind of ends, with absolutely no resolution as to what happened to Vandal. And everyone is apparently just kind of fine with that. Because hey, Superman is back! Yay! Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there is kind of an epilogue in 2 issues of Superman Wonder Woman. But again, it's only kind of an epilogue, and serves better to end that series, so I'm sure I'll basically cover it when I eventually cover that series. So for now, let's get to the breakdown. I originally read this event broken up in the issues for the individual series they appeared in before reading the whole thing collected, and I have to say, it made about as much sense either way. Most of the questions I had about this series, particularly how Vandal came to be in charge of the Stormwatch carrier, exactly how he subdued the Justice League, where the hell the Puzzler came from, and how Superman figured out that Kryptonite would restore his powers, are still questions I have after reading the full collection. And it's weird because they introduce each of these things like we're expected to know already about them because we read the events somewhere, which, as far as I can tell, didn't happen anywhere. It's also disappointing to see the villains that were being built up so much in Action Comics and Superman, namely Wrath and Hoarder Root, come to such sudden and anticlimactic ends at the hands of their own father, as if they were just throwaway characters and not the primary villains of a combined total of 4 story arcs building up to this. But those complaints aside, I actually really enjoyed this story. I'm a sucker for history stuff, which honestly I think they could have gone into a little bit more, and this is just so much better written than the 3 previous Superman crossovers I've covered on the channel. I mean, the combined star power of Aaron Kuder, Greg Pak, Jean-Lin Yang, and Peter J. Tomasi is pretty hard to ignore. So I'm giving this series a recommendation level of high. I think they did about as good of a job with this crossover as you could possibly expect them to do. And while it has its fair share of problems, it's still one of the best stories that came out for the New 52 Superman. The collected edition gets 1 Shard of Kryptonite, which this time is a good thing. Get it? I reversed it, because this time, the Kryptonite was helping. The collection contains 11 issues plus an annual, and while it does feel like it must be missing at least 1 issue that must have fleshed things out elsewhere, I can't prove that it's missing that, so I can't really hold that against it. No bonus covers here, but it does have several pages of bonus art, and since it's a perfectly acceptable comic, I'm gonna maybe be a little generous here. Thanks everybody for watching. Okay, I know I said last week that there was just 1 more Superman video, but I actually meant to say 2. But after next week, I promise I'll take a break. For at least a week. But there will always be more Superman to get to someday. So if you liked this video, be sure to click the like and subscribe button so you can be sure to stick around for next time. And I hope to see you then, right here, in the Comic Cave.